The arena roars with laughter as the human steps forward unarmed, barefoot, and outmatched, facing three of Valtar Prime's most feared warriors. The alien girl watches from the stands, her fingers tightening around the cold metal railing. This was supposed to be entertainment, a lesson in power, a demonstration of why her people were the greatest warriors in the galaxy. But something about the way the human stands tells her, this is no execution, this is something else entirely. The crowd jeers from above, a swirling mass of voices echoing through the Colosseum, the scent of burning plasma and sweat lingers in the air. The three warriors stand in a perfect triangle, their armor gleaming under the artificial lights, their plasma blades humming with lethal energy. Each one is a master of combat, their bodies enhanced through generations of genetic refinement and cybernetic augmentation. To face even one of them is to meet certain death. To face all three is madness. The human does not move, his gaze locked onto them, his body relaxed but poised like a predator waiting for the perfect moment to strike. His bare feet press against the cracked stone floor, the muscles in his arms taut with quiet tension. In his right hand, he holds nothing in his left, only a small jagged rock, a pitiful weapon against the finest killers in the Empire. A deep metallic voice booms through the Colosseum, the overseer announcing the match, a formal affair, one meant to make the human's death feel like a spectacle, begin. The warriors move as one trained to kill with ruthless efficiency, their plasma blades cut through the air in a blur, too fast for the eye to follow, too fast for any lesser being to react. Yet the human does not hesitate, he shifts at the last possible second, ducking under the first strike, his body twisting away from the second, and rolling past the third. The alien girl's breath catches in her throat. No one moves like that, no one without augmentation, no one without cybernetic reflex boosters. The human should not have been able to dodge that attack, yet he had done it effortlessly. The first warrior pivots his blade, a burning arc of blue slicing toward the human's back, but the human drops to the ground at the last seconds, sweeping his leg out in a violent arc, knocking the warrior off balance. Before anyone can react, the human lunges forward, seizing the jagged rock in his fist. A sickening crack echoes through the chamber. The warrior's helmet snaps back as the rock connects with his visor with impossible force. Cracks splinter across the reinforced glass before shattering completely. The warrior stumbles, clutching his face, blood leaking between his fingers. The second warrior is already moving his blade, slicing downward, a killing blow meant to split the human in two. The alien girl grips the railing harder, her pulse pounding. Surely this would be the end, surely there was no way to avoid this. The human does not avoid it. Instead, he steps in closer, impossibly close, his left hand flashing up in a brutal arc, the rock slamming into the second warrior's throat. The force of the impact collapses his windpipe, a choked gurgle escaping as he staggers back, clawing at his neck, his plasma blade slipping from his grasp. The crowd is no longer laughing. The third warrior hesitates, a flicker of uncertainty in his stance. The hesitation is all the human needs, his body a blur as he pivots, the rock still clutched in his blood-stained fingers. He cocks his arm back and throws the rock with deadly precision. The impact is instant. The jagged stone slams into the third warrior's knee, a sickening crunch. As the joint gives way, the warrior screams, toppling forward, unable to support his weight. The human moves faster than thought, closing the distance in a blink, his fingers wrapping around the fallen plasma blade. With a single fluid motion, he drives it into the warrior's chest. Silence. The alien girl cannot breathe, her world, her reality, her understanding of strength shatters. Before her eyes, three of the greatest warriors of her people lay motionless. One man had felled them all with nothing but a rock. The warriors strike together, their plasma blades slicing through the air faster than thought, faster than any unaugmented being should ever be able to react. The alien girl grips the railing, her breath frozen in her throat. She has seen these warriors move before, has watched them dismantle challengers with ruthless efficiency and overwhelming speed. No one ever dodges, no one ever survives, but the human does not fall, he moves. He ducks lower than he should be able to, his body twisting in an impossible contortion, his muscles snapping like coiled steel as he rolls between the first warrior's legs before the second can adjust. The human is already shifting weight, balanced on the balls of his feet, his momentum guiding him like he has done this 1,000 times before he slides past the third warrior, plasma blades carving deep scars into the stone where he stood only moments ago. The crowd is no longer laughing now. They are leaning forward, watching, waiting, trying to understand how a creature they were taught to see as weak is still standing. The alien girl feels her fingers tremble against the railing. This is wrong. This is impossible. The human is supposed to die quickly, brutally, as a reminder to all who witness that Volta Prime is unmatched in battle, yet the human is still there, still breathing, still moving, still fighting. His hand flashes out, fingers curling around something small, something unremarkable, a jagged rock half buried in the dust-streaked arena floor. The warriors do not react. They do not care. A rock is nothing. It cannot slice through armor. It cannot deflect plasma. It cannot stop a killing blow. Yet the human holds it like it is a weapon, like it is a part of him. The first warrior lunges, a textbook strike, an overhead slash designed to split the human from shoulder to hip. But the human does not back away. He surges forward, closing the distance. Too fast, too reckless. It should be suicide, but the alien girl sees it now. She sees the purpose in his movements, sees the plan before it unfolds. The human pivots, his head shifting just enough that the plasma blade passes inches from his face. His left arm snaps up, rock clutched in his fist. A sharp swing of his wrist, and the jagged edge of the stone smashes into the warrior's visor. A loud crack splinters across the reinforced material. Then another, before the entire thing shatters. The warrior stumbles back, blood pouring from his shattered eye socket. Before the first body even hits the ground, the second warrior is moving his blade arcs, lower cut, meant to sever the human's legs. But the human is faster. He leaps, twisting midair, impossibly precise, impossibly controlled, as he lands behind his attacker, his hand lashing out, the rock aimed at the exposed joint of the warrior's throat. The impact is brutal, a sharp crunch, followed by a wet, gurgling sound. The second warrior collapses, his hands clutching at his ruined windpipe, his plasma blade flickering out as his body slams against the arena floor. The human does not hesitate, does not celebrate. He is already moving again, already focused on the last opponent. The third warrior hesitates a single fraction of a second, the tiniest break in his stance. But against this human, against this impossible force, it is more than enough. The rock is already flying through the air, spinning end over end before it collides with his knee. The sound is unnatural, a sharp, sickening snap. The warrior screams, his leg buckling. He crumples forward, trying to catch himself. But the human is already there. His fingers wrap around the fallen plasma blade, and in one clean, precise motion, he drives it into the warrior's chest. The arena is silent, no cheers, no laughter, only stunned disbelief. The alien girl stares down at the three bodies, sprawled across the ground, at the human standing over them, bloodied and breathless, but utterly unshaken. She does not understand what she just witnessed, but she knows one thing with certainty. This was not luck, this was not chance. Humanity is not weak, and whatever they are, whatever he is, the galaxy is not ready for them. A sickening crack echoes through the chamber. The first warrior drops his blade, his visor shattering from the impact. The alien girl's breath catches in her throat, her mind struggling to process what she is seeing. This is not possible. No one breaks Voltarian armor. With raw force, no one shatters a warrior's visor. With a mere rock, yet the human moves, like it was inevitable, like he already knew exactly how this fight would end. The second warrior surges forward, plasma blade humming with deadly energy, his movements precise, controlled, every motion honed through decades of training. His kind are engineered for combat. Their reflexes augmented, their speed beyond natural limits. But none of it matters, because the human does not hesitate, does not falter, does not even seem surprised, as if he has faced worse, as if this is just another battle in a lifetime of battles. The human pivots, his body twisting with unnatural fluidity. His free hand flashes out, seizing the injured first warrior by the arm and yanking him forward, using his staggering body as a living shield. The second warrior reacts too late, his plasma blade already committed to a killing strike, and the energy cuts deep into his own ally's armor. the wounded warrior lets out a strangled cry, his body convulsing as the blade sears through flesh and bone. The alien girl flinches, her heart hammering against her ribs. This cannot be real. She has watched warriors fight her entire life, and she has never seen anything like this, never seen someone fight with such ruthless efficiency, with such terrifying calculation. The human does not waste movement, does not hesitate. Every action has a purpose. Every step is a step closer to victory. The second warrior tries to pull back, tries to reset his stance, but the human is already inside his guard, already pressing forward. His fist lashes out the jagged rock, still clutched between his fingers, slamming into the warrior's throat. The force is sickening, brutal, precise. The warrior staggers, his eyes wide, his hands flying to his crushed windpipe. But it is already too late. His body collapses to the ground, his blade slipping from his grasp as he chokes on his own breath. The alien girl cannot move, cannot look away. This was supposed to be a spectacle, an execution. Yet, it is the human who stands above them. It is the human who is proving what real power looks like. The last warrior hesitates, his blade races, his body tense. But she can see it now, the shift in his stance, the uncertainty creeping into his movements, the tiniest flicker of fear. This is no longer a fight. This is survival, and he knows it. The human does not give him time to think. His arm snaps forward, the rock flies through the air, spinning end over end, before colliding with the warrior's knee. The impact is catastrophic, bones shattering with a grotesque snap. The warrior screams, his leg buckling beneath him, his body crashing to the ground before he can even register what has happened. The human is already moving, already closing the distance, his foot slamming down on the warrior's wrist, pinning it to the ground as he reaches down and wrenches the fallen plasma blade from his grasp. The movement is seamless, practiced, as if he has done this before, as if he has lived his entire life fighting with whatever weapon he can take from his enemies. One final motion, the blade pierces through the warrior's chest, a choked gasp, a final twitch, then nothing, silence. The arena that was once filled with laughter and cheers is now deathly quiet. The alien girl can hear nothing but the pounding of her own heartbeat, her lungs burning as if she has forgotten how to breathe. The human stands amidst the bodies, his chest rising and falling, his bare feet stained with blood, the jagged rock still clutched in his fingers, the plasma blade humming softly in his other hand. He does not look around, does not acknowledge the stunned silence. He only lifts his gaze, meeting hers for the first time. And in that moment she understands this is not just a victory, this is a message. The last warrior hesitates. That single moment is all the human needs. He feints left, his body twisting with impossible speed, before snapping back to the right, his bare foot slamming into the injured warrior's broken knee. The alien girl flinches as the sound of shattering bone echoes through the arena. The warrior screams, his body collapsing completely, no longer a fighter, no longer a threat, just another fallen legend on the blood-stained floor. The human does not stop. He moves with terrifying efficiency, his fingers tightening around the stolen plasma blade. The energy hums violently against the silent backdrop of the stunned crowd. Without hesitation, without mercy, he drives the weapon downward, the blade piercing through the final warrior's chest. The alien girl watches the warrior's body tense, then slacken, his glowing eyes dimming until there is nothing left. Silence, absolute, suffocating, unnatural. The crowd that once roared with laughter now sits frozen, thousands of eyes locked on the lone human standing amidst the bodies of three of Vael Prime's finest warriors. The alien girl feels her heart hammering against her ribs. This is wrong. This is not how the universe works. Humans are weak, humans are prey. They do not win, they do not survive. And yet here he stands, barefoot, bloodied, breathing. The overseer of the arena finally speaks, his voice not as strong as before, the words almost reluctant. He declares the human victorious. But no one cheers, no one moves. It is as if the entire city has lost its voice. The alien girl looks around, sees the fear spreading like wildfire through the stands. She sees warriors shifting uncomfortably, their hands tightening into fists. She sees nobles glancing at each other, whispering hushed, urgent things. She sees something that should not exist in the eyes of her people, doubt. The human does not react to the announcement, he does not raise his arms, he does not bask in the moment. Instead, he simply drops the plasma blade, letting it clatter to the floor beside the fallen. The rock still rests in his fingers, stained with blood. A simple thing, a primitive thing, but it has become more than that. It has become a symbol. A slow realization creeps through the alien girl's mind. This fight was never just a fight, it was proof, undeniable, unshakable proof, that everything they had been taught about humans was wrong. This single battle had shattered centuries of belief. The overseer clears his throat, a futile attempt to reclaim authority, his voice steadier this time. He announces that the fight is over, that the human may take his leave. The human does not move, not yet. Instead, he lifts his gaze, and for a brief moment, his eyes meet hers. She does not know why he looks at her out of the thousands watching, but the weight of his stare makes her breath catch. Then, without a word, he turns and walks away, his bare feet silent against the blood-slicked stone. The crowd parts as he approaches. Warriors who have never known fear, now stepping back. Nobles who have never bowed, now lowering their heads. The entire arena watches as he disappears through the exit. The fight may be over, but the war has only just begun. The alien girl knows this victory will not be forgotten. No one will forget what happened here today. No one will forget the human who killed 3 elite warriors with nothing but a rock, because if one man can do this, what else are they capable of? What happens when they stop fighting as individuals? What happens when they fight as a species? She does not know the answer, but for the first time in her life, she is afraid to find out. The alien girl's heart pounds in her chest, her breath shallow, her mind racing. 3 elite warriors, the best of her kind, lay motionless on the cold stone floor, and the human, the unarmed, barefoot primitive, was the only one left standing. The crowd had gone silent. No more laughter, no more jeers, only a thick, suffocating weight of disbelief hanging in the air, as if reality itself had broken. She grips the railing tighter, her fingers aching, but she cannot look away. The human does not celebrate, does not even acknowledge the stunned expressions surrounding him. He simply stands there, blood on his hands, the jagged rock still clutched between his fingers, like a relic, like a weapon, like proof that everything they believed about his kind was a lie. The overseer shifts uncomfortably, his authority now meaningless. He had declared the human victorious. But no one moved, no one cheered. Warriors exchanged uneasy glances, their hands tightening into fists. Nobles whispered to one another, their faces pale. The alien girl swallows hard, knowing that this is not just about one battle. This is about something much bigger, something far more dangerous. The human exhales slow and steady, his shoulders rise and fall, but his eyes remain sharp, scanning the crowd, not with arrogance, not with fear, but with something colder, something calculating. She realizes he is not just looking at them, he is measuring them, assessing them the way a predator watches prey before deciding whether the hunt is worth it. Then, without a word, he turns his bare feet silent against the blood-stained floor, and he walks away. The crowd does not part for him at first. They are too frozen, too caught between shock and denial. But then a warrior, a veteran who had seen hundreds of battles, instinctively steps back, as if an unarmed human was a threat worthy of caution. The others follow, some subtly, some openly, moving out his path. The alien girl watches him go, her hands trembling, because she understands now something no one else does. They have not just witnessed a fight, they have witnessed a shift in the balance of power. She forces herself to move, slipping away from the stands, pushing through the winding corridors of the Colosseum, her heart hammering in her chest. She does not know why she is doing this, only that she has to find him, she has to speak to him, she has to understand how he did it, why he did it, what he truly is. She finally spots him in a shadowed corridor, alone, his back against a cold metal wall, his hands resting on his knees. He is breathing slow, controlled, as if centering himself, his fingers still stained with the blood of warriors who should have killed him in seconds. She hesitates, but then steps forward. The sound of her boots against the floor makes him glance up, his eyes meeting hers. There is no hostility, no arrogance, just quiet patience, as if he had expected her to come, as if he had already planned for this moment. She swallows hard, choosing her words carefully, but when she speaks, her voice is quieter than she intended. "How did you do that?" He studies her for a moment, then he shifts, leaning back slightly against the wall, his expression unreadable. When he finally speaks, his voice is calm, steady. You've been fighting for dominance your whole life, haven't you? She blinks, not expecting the question, but she nods, because it is true on Volta Prime's strength, his everything strength is survival strength, determines rank, respect, value, worth, the strong rise, the weak are forgotten. He exhales, not into himself, but he understands like he has lived it before, and maybe his world is not so different from hers. You fight to prove yourself, he continues, to show your people you deserve your place. Humans don't fight like that, we fight because we have to, because if we don't, we die. Our world was never kind to us. It forced us to learn, forced us to adapt, forced us to win with whatever we had. His fingers tighten around the jagged rock, still held loosely in his grip. A rock is useless to you, he says, but to me it's a weapon, a tool, a means to survive. You have always had power, so you never had to learn how to take it. We never had power, so we learned how to take everything. She does not know what to say because she understands now. She sees the truth in his words, in his actions, in the bodies left behind in the arena. Humans are not strong in the way her people are. They are not fast. They are not enhanced. They are not built for war, but they are built for something far worse. Survival. And the most dangerous thing in the universe is not the strongest warrior or the fastest killer. It is the one who refuses to die, no matter what stands in their way. The alien girl stares at him, her mind racing, her heart pounding. Her people are warriors bred for battle, raised to believe in strength above all else. And yet this human had shattered that belief, had torn through the finest of their kind with nothing but instinct, speed, and a jagged rock. She had watched it with her own eyes, and still she struggled to understand. She steps closer, her voice low, uncertain, but demanding, "How did you know you could win?" The human tilts his head, watching her with those unreadable eyes, like he is measuring her, weighing the worth of the question. Then he exhales, slow, controlled, and shrugs. "I didn't." Her breath catches her body going rigid. She had expected strategy, expected calculations, some deep understanding of their weaknesses, some hidden advantage. But this was something else entirely. "You didn't know." He shakes his head. "Not until I started moving, not until I saw the way they fought, not until I felt the weight of the rock in my hand." He lifts it slightly, his fingers still stained with blood. "You don't wait for certainty. In a fight you take the moment you have, and you turn it into the moment you need." She is silent, the words sinking and pressing against everything she has ever known, every lesson, every rule, every teaching her people, trained for battle, perfecting forms, refining techniques, sharpening their skills across generations. But this is something different, not refinement, not mastery, not even raw talent. This is survival in its purest form. He sees the doubt in her eyes, the way her mind struggles against itself, and he speaks again, quiet but firm. "Your people fight to prove their strength. We fight because we don't have a choice." She clenches her fists. "That's the difference, isn't it?" Yes, he nods. "Humans don't fight fair, we don't fight clean, we don't fight for glory, we fight to win. Because losing means dying, we use whatever we have. Because we don't, we die. If that means throwing a rock or breaking a bone or turning one enemy against another, we do it. And we don't hesitate, because hesitation kills." She looks down at the blood-stained floor, the weight of his words settling deep in her chest. She knows he is right, she knows she has seen it firsthand. But knowing it and accepting it are two different things. "You didn't just fight them," she says, slowly lifting her gaze. "You dismantled them, you made them fight themselves, you made them hesitate." The human shrugs. "That's what your kind never learned. A fight isn't just about speed or power, it's about control." Her pulse quickens because she understands now. She sees it laid bare in front of her. The warriors he fought were stronger, faster, more experienced. But he had controlled the battle, he had dictated every movement, every reaction, every moment, and by the time they realized, it was too late. She swallows, her throat dry. "You could have killed more." His eyes darken for the first time. There is something colder in his gaze, something deeper. "I could have killed everyone." She does not doubt him, not for a second. The thought sends a shiver through her, because she knows it is true. She knows that if he had chosen to keep going, if he had chosen to take more weapons, if he had chosen to turn that entire arena into a graveyard, nothing would have stopped him. "Why didn't you?" He studies her for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then he leans forward just slightly, just enough that she feels the weight of his presence. "Because I didn't have to." Her breath catches because she knows what he means, knows the unspoken words beneath the surface, the true message, the thing that truly sets his kind apart. Fear is a better weapon than any blade, and today he has won more than just a battle. Today, he has planted fear in the hearts of an entire world. The alien girl feels the weight of his words settle deep inside her like a stone dropped into the depths of an ocean. Fear is a better weapon than any blade, and he has wielded it with the precision of a master. The arena had been filled with laughter, with certainty, with the absolute belief that he would die screaming. And yet he had walked away unscathed, leaving behind nothing but silence and corpses. She studies him now, truly studies him, the way he stands, the way he breathes, the way his muscles remain coiled, like a predator waiting for the next strike. There is no arrogance, no pride, only patience and control. His body is lean, his skin scarred, his knuckles still smeared with the blood of warriors who should have crushed him. He is not a god, he is not invincible, and yet he is something far more terrifying. He is human, and that means he does not stop. She swallows her throat tight, her mind racing. You could have done more, you could have killed them all. He nods slowly, his eyes never leaving hers. Then why did you stop? He exhales, slow, deliberate, because this is bigger than me. Her pulse quickens because she understands what he means. She has seen it already. It takes root in the minds of the strong, weakening them before they even realize it is there. It makes warriors hesitate, makes leaders second-guess their choices, makes entire civilizations question what they once knew to be true. And now that fear has been planted here in the hearts of her people, in the very core of Vael Prime. She looks at the human, watches the way he remains still, controlled, composed, as if he already knows what she is thinking, as if he has already seen this play out before. Maybe he has, maybe this is what his kind does, maybe this is how they survive, not by overpowering their enemies, but by breaking them from the inside. Her voice is quiet. When she finally speaks, you knew this would happen. The human exhales slowly, his gaze steady. I knew what might happen, but I didn't know for sure. Then why fight at all if you weren't certain? Because I didn't have a choice. She wants to argue, wants to tell him that there is always a choice, that he could have surrendered, that he could have found another way, but the words die before they leave her lips, because she knows the truth, because she has seen it in his eyes since the moment he stepped into the arena. For him, survival is not a choice, it is the only option. She glances toward the corridor leading back to the arena, back to the bodies of the fallen warriors, back to the silent crowd that still has not moved. They will come for you, she says finally. When the fear turns to anger, they will come for you again, and they won't make the same mistake twice. The human nods, I know. And you're not afraid. A small breath, a shift in his posture, not fear, but something else, something deeper. I am, but fear isn't a weakness. Fear keeps you alive. Fear reminds you to stay sharp, to stay ready. The problem is your people never learned how to use it. Her mind spins because she knows he is right. Her people do not fear battle, they do not fear death, they fear weakness. But they have never learned to use that fear to sharpen their instincts, to make them smarter, more adaptable, more unpredictable. They fight with confidence, with certainty, with the absolute belief that they will win. And that is why they lost today. She exhales slowly. So what happens now? The human tilts his head, considering her question. Then he speaks with the same quiet certainty that had carried him through the fight. I leave this place, and I do not look back, but your people will. They will look back again, and again they will remember this day. They will remember that a human stood alone against three of their best and walked away, and that memory will haunt them. She closes her eyes for a brief moment because she knows what he says is true. They will remember, they will question, and doubt will spread like rot through the foundation of their beliefs. And what about me? She asks, her voice quieter now, her fingers tightening at her sides. I saw what you did, I understand what it means, so what happens to me? For the first time since the fight began, a small flicker of something like amusement crosses his face. That depends on you. She frowns. Depends on me. Yes, he says, leaning forward, just slightly lowering his voice, so that only she can hear. You have a choice. Now you can forget what you saw, pretend it never happened, hold on to the beliefs that make you feel safe, or you can accept the truth and see where it leads you. She swallows hard because she knows this is not just about today. This is about everything, about what she was raised to believe, about what she thought was true, about what the universe is supposed to be. She does not know what will come next, but for the first time in her life, she is afraid of the answer. She is afraid of the answer, afraid of what it means, afraid of what comes next. But fear is not new to her. She has felt it before in the quiet moments before battle, in the silent stares of rivals who waited for her to fail, in the relentless pressure of a world that demanded strength above all else. But this fear is different. It is not the fear of losing, it is the fear of knowing. Knowing that everything she believed was a lie, knowing that strength alone is not enough, knowing that her people are not invincible, knowing that the human standing before her has changed something deep and fundamental in a way that can never be undone, knowing that she will never see the universe the same way again. She looks at him, his face unreadable, his body still marked with the fight blood on his hands, on his knuckles, on the jagged rock that had shattered 3 warriors. With nothing but willpower and survival instinct, he does not move, he does not rush her, he simply waits. Because he knows she has already made her choice. She inhales, slow, steady, grounding herself in the moment, forcing the weight of her thoughts into something solid, something real. Then she speaks, her voice low, but certain. I want to understand. His expression does not change, but something in his eyes sharpens. You already do. No, she shakes her head. Not enough, not yet, but I will. He nods as if he had already expected that answer, as if he had known from the moment she followed him into this corridor. You can walk away from this. Now pretend none of it ever happened. Live the life you were meant to live. She exhales, but it wouldn't be real. No, it wouldn't. A pause, a moment where the air between them is heavy with unspoken things. Then she lifts her chin and steps closer, her voice steady. Where do I begin? The human studies her for a long moment, then he drops the bloodied rock. It clatters against the cold metal floor, forgotten, useless now that its purpose is served. He flexes his fingers, wipes his hands against his torn shirt, then looks at her with something that almost resembles approval. You begin by unlearning everything you think you know. She swallows, nods, because she understands, because she has no other choice, because the universe is not what she thought it was, because humans are not what she thought they were, because she cannot forget what she saw in the arena, and she cannot forget what she sees now standing in front of her. The human steps past her, moving toward the corridor that will take him away from this place, and she turns to follow because she knows this is only the beginning, because the fear that had been planted in the hearts of her people was not the only thing that had changed today, because something had shifted inside of her too. And she will not stop until she understands what it means.